Well, we're excited. It's been, as it has for all fall sports, 2 years. So just getting out in the field, having a season to play for is really exciting, and spending time with the guys. That's what we as coaches like to do. We like to be on the field with our teams and develop them in that sense. So it's a great deal of excitement, and we're trying to temper that a little bit. It's a long season, and we have to go one step at a time, but we are ready to go. It's been the best fall in terms of preparation since I've been here, and that is due in no small part to the fact that classes are starting later. In the past, we would start either the day before or the day that new student orientation began. And so there was a lot of stretch over those first 4 days where you just didn't have your young guys. This year we had about almost 10 days where we had the whole team together, and their only focus was on playing, it was on training, was getting to know one another and those kinds of things. So in very practical terms, we've had a lot more time. More specifically with the team, we've been able to input a lot of stuff that normally we'd have to put in as the season progressed because we just didn't have the time. Leadership is everything, but I tell the guys all the time, in a perfect world, we don't even need captains except for somebody to call the coin flip at the beginning of games, and that's because everybody's accountable for themselves. In lieu of that, we have a very small senior class, but we have tremendous leadership within it. We have a real mix within our captains. We have a very sort of subdued, quiet, this is how you do it, sort of lead by example. We have one very emotional captain who really wears his heart on his sleeve, and he keeps the guys ready. And then we have that balance point in between. So that's important because they have to set the standard for everybody. But then within each class, we have leadership. In fact, you can already see it somewhat in the younger guys, not in the sense that they're going to be the captain of the team tomorrow or anything, but that they understand why they're here. So we're really pleased with that part. We also are pretty confident in this freshman class. We've got 4 or 5 guys that are going to help us right away, and I think another 4 or 5 guys that are going to blend in as the season progresses. And we have a JV team, and the bottom line is this is the most depth we've had since I've been here. We played a preseason game against Anderson, and the varsity won and the JV won, and we haven't really in recent years had a JV team to be as competitive as this one was. So we feel really strongly about that too. Yeah, it's critically important. It's the depth of the roster that allows us to develop. If you don't have strength at the lower end of the roster, it becomes increasingly difficult for the guys at the higher end of the roster to be pushed. So part of that in preseason is mixing the guys up. The trade-off there is you don't have that key group of guys together as much as you continue to try and build that chemistry, but it's a very fair trade-off. And what we have found during preseason this year is that even the lower end of the roster can force the upper end of the roster to work hard, and that's not something we've consistently had. Well, the big thing for us over the last 2 seasons, 18 and 19, is 13 one-goal losses. The program's come an awfully long way. We won a National Team Academic Award last year, and we're in line to win it again here in 2021. So that's really important. Off the field, it's much more proactive than problematic as a program. So the third piece is then having the confidence in learning the lessons to take that next step. So the fact that we've had 13 one-goal losses over 2 seasons, I think is significant because it means we're competitively playing, and we're doing so on a regular basis. But now we have to take that next step and begin to turn some of those one-goal losses into one-goal victories. And we think we have a pathway to that. But we open up with a very good Transylvania team. Then we hit the road for Penn State, Altoona, and Mount St. Joe, come home for a game, and then back on the road again. So it is going to test us preseason, but given the fact that our conference is one of the best in the country in men's soccer, it's what we have to do in order to be prepared for that gauntlet where we play a top 10 team in the country, Kenyon, in our second conference game. And then we wrap up in the final week of the conference season. We have Ohio Wesleyan, which is the winningest college soccer program of all time. So trying to find that blend in the non-conference season that allows you to evolve, but at the same time prepares you for the conference season. And we got a tough one ahead. Well, sometimes you build on the naivete of the group. They don't really understand what they're getting into. So on the one hand, you don't want to overwhelm them, but at the same time, you have to speak with them in a very respectful manner about the challenges they're going to face. But we see it in all walks of sport from time to time. Young guys who don't really know, and they just go and they play. And they're not intimidated. Maybe they should be a little bit, but they're not because they don't know any better. It's the difference between ignorance and stupidity. And sometimes having young guys being a little bit ignorant about the competitive level of our opponents is a good thing, because it doesn't put us going up and down, up and down. It keeps us on an even keel. Then they step on the field and they find out what it's really all about, and then you see when you're there. But I think it's giving guys minutes early in the season. We try to be very, very positive with them, kind of reinforce what they're doing well. We address the problem spots, the trouble areas, but focusing on the positives, giving them repetitions early on in preseason all the way through the non-conference season is how we get them ready to play the NCAC slate.